Hey folks, I'm best-selling author of The Power of Zero, David McKnight. In today's video, you'll see part 2 of my interview with financial advisor Caleb Gilliams, in which we discuss the real reason Dave Ramsey will never admit when he's wrong.
So we're gonna dive into some of these gurus. I think we need to start with America's most famous, controversial, potentially guru, Dave Ramsey. And what I want to do when we talk about these gurus is I want you first to share what you admire about these gurus, what you like, if there's anything that you like about
Sure.
what they say.
Yeah,
And then let's
lots.
go into some of their things that you're like, hey, these messages could be damaging if they're amplified to the marketplace.
Sure. There's a lot I love about Dave Ramsey. I was listening to a talk he gave the other day. I think he was talking about biblical financial principles. And I listened to the whole thing. I said to my son, I don't think there's a single thing in there I disagree with, right? Like it was sort of this odd moment. I'm writing a book about Dave Ramsey, but everything he was saying in that talk was speaking to my core. I was like, in some sense, I'm a Dave Ramsey fan. Like I really love what he says about the debt. I love how he talks about living within your means and saving 15% of your income. These are all things, and I've talked personally with people that have really turned their financial lives around by implementing the types of things that Dave Ramsey talks about. And he's to be commended for the outsized impact he's had on America. I mean, he talks about it all the time. He goes, I can help more people in 15 minutes than you, CFP, that you can help, in your entire lifetime. And, it's true. He's got this massive audience and he's helping a lot of people. But I like to refer to something that I call the Dave Ramsey Cycle of Poverty. And it goes a little bit like this. People start off in poverty because they're not living by correct financial principles. Dave Ramsey teaches them financial principles. He gets them to the point where they're saving, they're marching their way towards financial independence. They get to the point where they have this nest egg, but then he gets out of his lane. You and I talked about making sure you stay in your lane. Then he gets out of his lane and he starts dispensing advice that can literally actually force people into bankruptcy. And I'll give you one example. He recently made a lot of headlines by criticizing his co-host George Camel for preaching the 4% rule. And the 4% rule basically has been vindicated by reams of academic data and lots of, Nobel laureates over the years, over the last 4 decades, and basically says, look, there is a sustainable amount of money you should withdraw from your stock market portfolio. And if you exceed that sustainable amount, you could run out of money years in advance of life expectancy. And that number that has become the gold standard in our industry is 4%. So in other words, you got $1 million in your 401k, day one of retirement, you can take 4% out that first year and adjust it every year thereafter to keep up with inflation. Well, Dave Ramsey has somehow arrived at a number that's twice that high. He says, if you have $1 million in your 401k, you can take out 8%. And you can take out 8% every single year until you die. In other words, he says, it's like the stock market is going to deposit $80,000 into your account. No, actually, it's not $80,000. It's $120,000 because he thinks the stock market is going to grow at 12% linearly over time. Okay, so the stock market is going to deposit $120,000 in your stock market portfolio January 1st every year. And to keep up with inflation, he doesn't say take out 12%, let's build in 4% for inflation. Therefore, you should only take out 8%. But he says 8% is perfectly sustainable. And, Dr. Wade Pfau from the American College, he's actually written the foreword for my book. And he has said that if you follow that course, 100% stock portfolio like Dave Ramsey recommends, and 8% withdrawal over time, you will run out of money 2/3 of the time. In other words, 2/3 of the time, your money will not last through life expectancy. So that's what I call the Dave Ramsey Cycle of Poverty. He gets people to implement correct financial principles. He gets them so they get to the point where they build a nest egg, and then he promptly bankrupts them by forcing them or by encouraging them to take that 8% withdrawal rate. So that's probably the biggest bone that I have to pick with Dave Ramsey. I mean, there's other smaller bones that I have to pick with him, but that's the big one. And ironically, the 2 ways that people could actually get 8% distribution rates, which is using annuities and life insurance in the correct way, are things that he is vehemently opposed to. Okay, so that's the big irony of all this. The only way to truly get 8% withdrawal rates on your portfolio in retirement is to use 2 financial tools that he is absolutely opposed to. So That's probably my biggest bone to pick with Dave Ramsey.
What's interesting is when I heard, because he's had multiple clips and he keeps them up, by the way, he keeps them up. I think I even saw a clip that he said 10%, and I don't know if I misheard him, but he's like, because his whole thing is like, of course, like if you're making 12, what's
right.
like math is math.
As long as you're lower than 12, you're good.
Yeah, and I agree with that logic. The problem is that's a linear average assumption is quite frankly not. It should be malpractice, and it would be malpractice if someone like we use that from a standpoint of helping people. But I have a lot of empathy for him, because if you believe to your core that 12% number, then why would you do anything like annuities and life insurance? And like I get that, but at the end of the day, you're right. With one of those things crumble, then he's so adamantly against life insurance and annuities. I wonder if he knows, or if he's just like, and he just refuses to address it because it's like, hey, it would throw a grenade and other things, or if like what is your thoughts on that? Like, because he has smart people around him. He talks with a lot of knowledge. Like, he understands how these products and annuity, like I've heard him talk about annuities and life insurance, and he's not like oblivious to all the things going on in there, but he thinks in almost every case that you should just cash it out. And he's told people on air to literally cash out their annuities and life insurance.
No questions asked, right? I've actually thought about this long and hard, and I believe in my heart of hearts that Dave Ramsey thinks that he's preaching the right thing. But there's another reality at play here. And if Dave Ramsey were to concede that he's wrong on any given issue, then all of a sudden his listeners are going to say, well, if he was wrong on that really important issue, if he's wrong on something as important as sustainable withdrawal rates in retirement, then what else might he be wrong about? And then it becomes sort of the slippery slope. And so he has to really stick to his guns, even in the face of, cadres of CFPs ganging up on him online and saying, Dave, you have no clue what sequence of return risk is. You have no clue what reams of academic data over the last 4 decades have said regarding sustainable withdrawal rates in retirement. He has to stick to his guns, because if he concedes defeat in any one arena, then I think that starts to bleed into the other areas where he, is professing some sort of expertise. Okay, folks, that was part 2 of my interview with financial advisor Caleb Gilliams. In the next 10 years, I'm looking to put 1 million Americans on the road to the 0% tax bracket. If you would like some help implementing a balanced, comprehensive approach to tax-free retirement that shields you from the impact of higher taxes down the road, head on over to davidmcknight.com and click on the Connect with an Advisor button. I'm happy to refer you to an advisor in the Power Zero network that has been trained, vetted, and qualified personally by me. If you're a financial professional and want to learn how to become a certified Power Zero advisor, head over to powerzero.com and opt into my free video series. And if you have any comments or questions, feel free to drop them into the comment section below. I'll respond to every single one of them personally. And don't forget to click like, subscribe, and the bell so you never miss a video. This is David McKnight. I look forward to seeing you on the next video.